Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another session of the season of AI. We have a very special guest with us, Ayush Rathi. Ayush has been part of Azure developer community for a while and does some amazing tech work. I welcome Ayush to deliver this special session. Over to you, Ashish. Ayush.
Hey, thank you, Rohit. Hi, everybody. Very good morning and good evening to all of you. So, welcome to the session on the generative AI and Azure AI Studio as part of the season of AI. So, as part of this, talking about what is artificial intelligence. So, it's primarily any software that is exhibiting human like capabilities, right? It could be visual perception, it could be text analysis, it could be speech services, it could be decision making services, right? So if I talk about the visual perception, right, where you have got the ability where you can make use of the computer vision capabilities to either accept or interpret or process the input. It could be from images, it could be from a chunk of video streams, or it could even be the live cameras. Moving on to text analysis, if I talk about the text analysis and specifically the conversation, right, you are trying to make use of the natural language processing where you not only read but also try to generate realistic responses and you try to extract the semantic meaning of the text. That is where comes the text analysis. Then we have got speech, where you try to recognize the speech as the input and then you synthesize the spoken output. So the combination of the speech capability together is going to help you apply the NLP analysis of the text, where you can enable a form of human compute interaction, which is also today kind of known as conversational AI. So that is where we have got the speech service, and then there is also decision making, where you have got the ability where you try to make use of some past data, past experience, and correlations, where you access the situation, take appropriate actions on it. So it could be a very simple example where you try to recognize anomalies in the sensor reading and then take those automated action to prevent failure or system damage. So these are the kind of capabilities which are increasingly within the reach of everyday applications that we use day in day out and kind of help you make them more intuitive, more useful from a perspective of different use cases in terms of the real life situation. Now, talking about data science, machine learning, and AI. So, if I talk about the data science, it is kind of a discipline which is going to focus primarily on processing as well as analyzing of the data. So, you try to apply some statistical techniques where you visualize, you uncover relationships and patterns within the data, and then you define the experimental models which is going to help you explore those patterns. So, a very simple example, if I talk in terms of the data sciences, let's say you are running an e-commerce online store, and data science is more of like being a super organized analyst for your business, where you want to collect all sorts of customer data, whether there is a purchase history or it is user demographics or there are website clicks. And then you would use statistical tools to analyze this data as well as uncover the trends. As an instance, let's say you find that the younger customers are more likely to buy a certain brand of clothing, right? Or certain brand of shoes. This data can then be used to inform making decision, right? So that is where we have got the data science. After data science, we have got the machine learning. So think of machine learning primarily as a subset of the data science, which is going to deal with the training and validation of the predictive model. So typically, a data scientist is going to prepare the data, then use that data to train a model based on the algorithm, where you are going to exploit the relationship between the features in the data to predict values with respect to the unknown labels. So if I talk in terms of the machine learning, let's say machine learning, again, it is because built on the top of the data science, you try to create algorithms where you are learning from the data being explicitly programmed. So going back to our previous example of the data science, the e-commerce store where we were trying to analyze some clothing or the shoe trend. So let's say there is a machine learning model which is trying to predict which customers are more likely to buy a particular item, right? So this model would constantly learn and improve as more data is fed into the model. And thereafter comes the artificial intelligence. So when we talk about the artificial intelligence, again, usually but not always, it is built on top of the machine learning, where you create software which is going to emulate one or more characteristics of your human intelligence. So specifically with respect to AI, you encompass both data science and machine learning, and you try to create intelligent machines which can mimic human cognitive functions, where you try to learn something, try to do problem solving, right? So that is where comes the AI. So that is where we have data science, machine learning, and the artificial intelligence. Now, today we hear this buzzword called as generative AI. So when it comes to generative AI, you're trying to this is more of type of AI where you're trying to create new content. It could be text, it could be images, it could be music, it could be videos. So it's more of like a superpowered copywriter or an artist where you're trying to learn the underlying patterns of things, use that knowledge to generate entirely new creations. On that very front, we are going to today look at some of the options around the open AI models and how this generative AI can fit into different use cases. Now, how generative AI works? You train on the data. So there is a huge amount of data which basically is used as a training data. Thereafter, you do a pattern recognition and then you do a content creation. So let's say if I were to generate an image of a human, right, which should ideally be a hypothetical image, right? So you try to learn from a lot of real images of the human data, and then you try to use those images, try to recognize a pattern, and then do a content creation based on what is asked. So that is where today, if we look at things around content generation, where it is text generation or whether it is image generation, we have got a whole lot of bunch of models which are available that we can use. Now, talking about considerations for responsible AI, when you're trying to make use of generative AI or AI, right? At the same time, considerations are also very, very important, right? So we need to understand as an engineers how to integrate these AI capabilities into the applications and services, at the same time taking care of the considerations, right? So that is where we basically talk in terms of different considerations in terms of fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security. There is inclusiveness, transparency, accountability, right? So when it comes to fairness, your AI system should treat all the people fairly, right? As an example, let's say you're trying to create a machine learning model where you want to support a loan approval application for a bank. Now, this model should make prediction of whether or not this loan should be approved without incorporating any bias based on gender. It could be ethnicity or it could be any other factors which could result in unfair advantage or disadvantage to some specific group of applicants. So fairness of the machine learning system is highly important, where you need to consider this aspect. Then we have got reliability and safety. Your system should perform reliably and safely, right? Think about an AI based software system for an autonomous vehicle, right? Let's say Tesla. Or there is a machine learning model which diagnoses patients and symptoms and then recommends the prescriptions. So you should ensure that these are all reliable, these are all safe. So as with any software, AI based software application development has to be subjected to rigorous testing, rigorous deployment management process, where you're trying to ensure that they are working as expected before the release. So this is again very important key factor to consider, specifically when it is an autonomous vehicle, right? It becomes very important to have that reliability and safety factor in place. Then we have got privacy and security. They should be secure and they should also respect the privacy. So the machine learning model on which your AI system is based has to rely on large volumes of data. This could contain personal details, which always should be kept private because it could be uh, PII data. Even after models are trained and the system is in production, they try to make use of the new data to make predictions to take action, which may be subject to any of the security concerns. So there has to be specific appropriate safeguards that you should take to protect the data, as well as your customer content should be implemented. In terms of the inclusiveness, your AI system should empower everyone and engage people. So it should be built for everybody, not for just one part of the society, regardless of regardless of the physical ability, gender, ethnicity, any other factor. It should be available for everybody to use. Transparency. Your system should be understandable. User should be made fully aware of the purpose of the system, how the system is going to work, and what are the limitations that may be expected out of the system, right? So these are the specific things that you should consider. And then lastly, accountability. So people should be accountable for the AI system. So though there are many AI systems seen which are operating autonomously, ultimately it's a responsibility of the developers who are who have trained and validated the models which they're using, and then they are defining the logic that base on which the base decision of the model prediction is going to work. So these are some of the considerations with respect to the responsible AI. We did talk about some of the challenges and risk of AI, like biases, errors that can cause harm, sorry, data that could be exposed, solutions that may not work for everybody, like a home automation assistant which is providing no audio output, specifically for a person who is visually impaired, right? And then trusting a complex system. So if it is a financial tool which is making investment recommendations that this is the stock or this is the mutual fund where you should invest, right? You have to basically think about all of those challenges and risk with the AI. Now, when it comes to generative AI in Azure, we have got the Azure OpenAI service available, which is a Microsoft cloud solution where you can deploy, customize, and host the generative AI models. And it is going to bring together the best of the OpenAI's cutting edge models as well as different set of APIs with the security and scalability of the Azure cloud platform. So as part of this, we will kind of look at how to train on the data, how the pattern recognition is going to work, and then how the content creation is going to be primarily processed upon, right? So that's where we have got the generative AI in Azure. So if you look at this very simple example of the generative AI in Azure, we have got the Azure OpenAI service, which has got all the models available. You have got an application UX, which is the user interface of the application. This user interface of the application is going to interact with the Azure speech service. It could be cognitive service. It could be a translator text service. So there are a whole lot of these services built into the Azure AI Studio, which you can use. So if you want to build something around speech, it could be text to speech to text, or translating into some another language. All of those things can primarily be used as part of the Azure AI Studio. And then you directly interact with the Azure OpenAI service to make use of these specific offerings as part of the API. Apart from it, we have also got Microsoft Copilot. So this is an AI assistant which is integrated primarily with most of the Microsoft applications today. Some of them are currently only available as part of the enterprises. And it leverages the large language model where you want to understand your work, provide suggestions, automate tasks, generate different creative text formats. So essentially acting as your AI co-pilot to boost your productivity. I hope all of you would have heard about GitHub Copilot, where you try to ask it to write some code and then it will generate that code for you. Similarly, if you look at Microsoft Teams, in your Teams meeting, after the meeting is done, you want to generate the meeting notes. You want to generate the action items. You can make use of the Copilot and ask Copilot, hey, can you summarize the meeting notes for me? Can you tell me the key action items from this meeting? Similarly, when you look at Word or PowerPoint, when PowerPoint, you can use Copilot and say, hey, can you generate me a 10 slide deck on generative AI in Azure? Right? It will generate that 10 slider for you. So that's the capability of the Microsoft Copilot today, where it is getting tightly integrated into most of the applications and you can take full use of it, right? So that's where we have got the key capabilities in terms of the Copilot and stuff. Now, when it comes to Azure Cognitive Services, we have got the whole lot of bunch of pre-packaged AI services that you can integrate into your solutions, right from the language to speech to vision to decision making, where in the language we have text analysis, Q&A, language understanding and translation. In the speech, we have got a speech recognition, speech synthesis, speech translation, speaker recognition. These things are today being used in the industry use case, right? Something like, let's say, if there is a AI bot, or let's say an AI system which is taking the first round of interview to hire a person, speech recognition and speaker recognition plays a very important role. Using these mechanisms, you can detect whether the speaker who is, whether the interview, the person who is giving the interview is the right person or the wrong person, right? So leveraging these techniques, you can identify those specific false use cases. In terms of vision, we have image analysis, video analysis, image classification, object detection, facial analysis, optical character recognition. Some of these services we use day in, day out, right? For example, today there are these AI enabled cameras where you simply connect it to Wi-Fi and kind of detects any motion that happens at your home, right? Let's say even if your baby is crying, it will detect that motion and immediately notify you. So that is where it's trying to make use of the video analysis and the object detection as well as facial analysis to serve that information and the alert. Decision making, where you can try to make anomaly detection, content moderation, content personalization. So these are all part of the Azure applied AI services. Specifically with respect to the speech service, we have speech to text, text to speech, as well as you speaking in one language and it translating it into the another language. So you've got a whole lot of bunch of these services available tightly integrated into the Azure AI speech service. In terms of the speech scenarios, we have got captioning, we've got audio content creation, then there are call center use cases, voice assistant use cases. So with respect to captioning, you try to synchronize the captions with your input audio, apply some profanity filters, get the partial results. You again go ahead and apply some customization and identify the spoken languages for multilingual scenarios. In terms of audio content generation, you want to use AI voices or the neural voices to make interactions with the chatbots or even the voice assistants, where more natural and which are more natural and more engaging, right? Where you can convert digital text like ebooks into audiobooks, or enhance your in-car navigation system, where you ask the in-car navigation system to start the routing to this specific route or path or the destination. Then we have got the call center, where you can transcribe the calls in the real time or process a batch of calls, uh, which is primarily going to redact personally identifying the information and then extracting the insights. It could be something like a sentiment to help you with a call center use case. And then voice assistant, where you try to create a natural human-like conversational interface for the application and the experience. So if you look at all these applications, like live caption, subtitle and translation, read aloud, dictation, commute, Cortana, these are all making use of the Azure speech services very, very tightly, right? So that is where we have got the speech scenarios. Now, talking specifically about the Copilot stack. So we did talk on AI safety and security. So we have got the Copilot Studio where you have Microsoft Copilot already available. Apart from it, you can build your own Copilot. So let's say I have got my own data and I want to create a Copilot which is based on my data. I can go ahead and build that very Copilot. And then that can be integrated tightly with the Microsoft applications, where there is an AI orchestration layer where you try to give your data. You try to use one of the foundation models and the AI toolchain. So let's say if I want to use any of the GPT model or any of the other models which are already available as part of the Azure AI Studio offering, we can kind of use one of those foundation models for our data to create our own Copilot, all baked by the AI infrastructure provided by the Microsoft Azure. So that's primarily the Copilot stack. Now, with respect to this, we have got the Azure AI Studio, which is a unified platform where you try to develop the generative AI applications as well as custom Copilot experiences. So we have got a unified platform where the Azure AI Studio try to unify its various AI services, where you have a seamless experience which caters to the diverse AI models as well as different data sources. Then we have got data and search, where there is a data integration. There are different search technologies available. There are also OpenAI foundational models and other open source AI models available from different partners. And then safe and responsible AI, where you emphasize the importance of building the AI responsibly with the advanced safety tools. And then there's this complete development lifecycle, which is going to support any emerging trend like LLM ops, where you try to manage the lifecycle and versioning of your AI system. So that's why we have got the Azure AI Studio. Now, let's look at AI in action, where I will give you some of the use cases around Copilot, OpenAI Studio, as well as Azure Speech Studio. So let me deep dive into the hands-on. Perfect. So this is where I'm on the Azure portal. And then if I take you to the resource group, which is the Tectrix OpenAI dash RG, I have already got an cognitive search service created. There is also an instance of the Azure OpenAI. And then there is a storage account that I'm going to use to upload some of the data, which I will use in my own Copilot. So once I go to the OpenAI service, I have already created this service in the interest of saving some time in the resource creation. You can click on go to Azure OpenAI Studio. So there are two different things. One is the OpenAI Studio and another is the Azure AI Studio. So AI Studio pretty much incorporates all of the services from a perspective of the AI, right? So different AI services, whether it is about speech, language translation, vision or documenting, content safety, whole lot of bunch of those services are available right over here as part of the Azure AI Studio. And then there is this Azure OpenAI Studio, which kind of has got some playgrounds like a chat playground, a completion playground. Then there is Dale. So let's say if I go to Dale and then I ask generate an image on how generative AI, or let's say how would Bangalore look after 10 years. So what prompt you give, with respect to that prompt, it is primarily going to generate the image. So you can see it has generated this image in terms of how Bangalore would look after 10 years. So similarly, you can you can make use of the service and integrate it tightly into your applications. Apart from it, we have got the completions playground as well, where you can start typing over here and then it will try to kind of generate things based on it. There are also some pre-uploaded examples. Let's say generate a product description in bullet points for a renter's insurance product which offers customizable coverage, rewards and incentives, flexible payment options, and a peer-to-peer referral program. The tone should be persuasive and professional. Once I click on generate, you can see it has kind of continued the same path. The ideal candidate should have experience writing content for digital products in the insurance industry. We need a freelancer to take picture of our product from different angles. So this is where this is a completion playground where it is trying to complete the sentences that you have given, adding in the more context and more data. And you have got a whole lot of bunch of parameters to define. So you can define different set of parameters right from over here. And then there is this chat playground where you can ask any specific questions to it. So this is what is slightly integrated as part of the Copilot into multiple set of applications, right? So if I just try to write over here as what is generative AI, and it starts giving you that information in terms of what generative AI is. Now this is where it is kind of using some pre-fed data with respect to the model that we are trying to use. But you can try to bring in your own data and then create your own Copilot over here as well, and then deploy it to the Azure App Services as a standalone application. So there are deployments available. You can see I'm using this Ayush test deployment currently, where I have used the GPT 3.5 model. Right. So this is the model that I'm trying to use, which is GPT 3.5 Turbo. And you can kind of create your own deployments as well. So if I want to use a new model which is available, let's say you can select a model from here. There are a whole lot of bunch of different models available, like DALE 2, DALE 3, GPT 3.5, GPT 4, 4.0 text embedding models as well. So you can even create your own deployment model and use that as part of the chat playground. This is where you can see different set of base models which are already offered to you as part of the Azure OpenAI model portfolio. You can also create a custom model over here as well. You can have your data files available over here. So if you want to upload a new data set and want to use that very file, you can also kind of incorporate that as well. So let's say if I go to chat, this is where I have an option to add my own data. So I can add a data source, and then let's say I want to upload a file. This is the subscription, and then let's say I will go with one of the storage account, which is TechTrex OpenAI, and then this is where I will have to use a speech service. Currently, the search service, but this is currently created in a free tier, so that's not supported. So you can also create a new AI search service. This search service is basically going to be used for indexing your data. So let's say I will use the same resource group, which was TechTricks OpenAI, and then I give the name as 15 June. West US 2, I will create it in East US. And I'll go with the standard tier of the pricing model. We'll keep the things to default. I'll go with just one search unit. Then let's review and create this. So behind the scene, your Azure OpenAI Studio is going to make use of a lot of different Azure cognitive services or the Azure AI services. So Azure Search is one such service that it basically uses. So my search service is deployed. Let's try to refresh this. Then we will use this service. And then I'll give the index name as test one. Next, I'll upload a file from my local machine. Let's say, I will just upload this slide deck that I have created. Let's see if it takes into this input. Okay, says file too large. Okay, we'll upload another file. So this has the information about me. Let's click on next. I'll go with the search type as semantic, and then we have a size of 1024. It will create a resource authentication system assigned managed identity to connect to the storage account where this file has been uploaded. Okay, it has disabled the system assigned managed identity. So I will use the API key, and then let's save and close this. So it is doing the ingestion of the data that we have uploaded. It's doing the pre-processing. And then it's doing the indexing of the data that we have uploaded. Okay, so now let me try to ask some questions. Summarize the about me, or probably I'll ask some data. Who is Ayush? So you can see based on the document that I have given, it is trying to fetch the information from the document and it is retrieving the document data, right? So it says based on the data that we have provided to it, it says Ayush Rathi is a Microsoft certified trainer who has conducted over 1,000 plus training sessions. And then it has given you a whole lot of bunch of information. Let me ask another question. What all certifications has Ayush done? So you can see it is primarily fetching all the information from that very file, and then it is giving you that very data in terms of the question that you are asking. So this is where you can use Chat Playground and then kind of use the Azure OpenAI Studio and Azure AI Studio to create your own Copilot. And going forward, if I want to deploy this to an Azure app service, right, I can deploy it to a new Copilot in the Copilot Studio as well as I can deploy it as a new web app. So let's say I'll give the name as a web app, Ayush web app 15 June, and then I select the subscription. I'll use the same resource group, which is OpenAI, then East US as the location. And I will go with a standard S1 pricing plan. If you want to enable the chat history, even you can do that. And then we'll click on deploy. So it's going to deploy this to an Azure app service where you will be able to use it as a standalone application. So it is doing the deployment currently. Once the deployment is complete, we will go to that application. So this is where, while we have added the data, the pre-processing of the data happens. It tries to index all of your data, and thereafter that data is available for you to make use of as part of the chat playground or building your own custom copilot. So it's still deploying the web app. It will take a couple of minutes for it to do the complete deployment. Okay, it did do the deployment. Opening this. So it will. This is my default domain. Let's try to go to this application and see the deployment has gone through. Meanwhile, I'll also get a try again to update it. So though it has created this app service, let's try to update the same app service again using the chat playground. So you can see it says the web app has deployed. Let's try to launch the web app. Since it has just finished a deployment, it might take a couple of minutes for it to launch. But the web application deployment has succeeded, and whatever we have done in the chat playground, this is available to us as an standalone application. So this is that very app service that we have created. Okay, it's giving some application error. Let's try to do a redeployment to this. So it's currently doing the deployment. Okay, it says the previous deployment is still active and it's failing. Let's give this a try, else we will redeploy this to a new web app. Seems like somehow the previous deployment has not gone through. But this is the option where you can deploy to a new web app as well as to a new uh, deploy to the Copilot Studio. I'll try to create a new web app. So meanwhile, this is getting deployed, guys. Let's also look at the Azure speech service. So this is where I have already created a speech service and we have got a speech studio. As part of this speech studio, you can perform different set of operations in terms of speech capabilities where you have got captioning with speech to text, post-call transcription and analytics use case, creating a live chat avatar or a video translation service, right? So there is real-time speech to text, batch speech to text, custom speech, speech translation services, and then there are also things on text to speech, right? So let's say if I go to audio content generation, this is where I can give in my own text file, and then it is going to generate a complete audio out of it, right? So let's say if I go to this file where I have got some data available, right here, if I try to just simply ask to read through some of the things, it is, let's talk about what is cloud computing. So these are some of the things where you can make use of the Azure Speech Studio and then perform different set of operations around the text to speech and speech to text kind of scenarios. So this is still deploying. So primarily what happens here is once this deployment is completed, similar to this, right now we are in the AI studio, but that will be then available as an standalone application. So maybe in the interest of the time, I think I might not be able to show you this part of it. Perfect. So that was about the demo of AI in action. So you all can get started on your AI journey where you can upskill yourself with the AI on the Microsoft Learn. The link to that is aka.ms/learn at AI Tour. So go ahead and start with your AI journey with Microsoft. Also, you can join the Azure AI community on the Discord. This is the QR code for the Discord where you can connect with the fellow enthusiasts, engage with the Microsoft experts, MVPs, and kind of deep dive, delve into the AI discussion. So you can all scan this QR code and then connect on the AI community on the Discord. This is the attendee survey season of AI link, so you can scan this and then provide your uh, feedback in terms of the session and then the survey. Thank you, everybody. I hope you all got a good insight into the Azure OpenAI Studio, how you can build your own Copilot, making use of your own data. So, thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you.